Morning came with a heavy sky. Lagos, always restless, seemed quieter that day, as though the city itself had paused to watch Tunde. He sat before the torn painting, staring at the crimson streak. It had dried into a dark scar, but the image of that warm drop on his finger burned in his mind. Maybe it was the wine, he muttered. Too many parties. But deep down, the whisper of Baba Ojo's warning echoed. When the drumbeat quickens, the dancer must beware. The artist and the shadows. Madame Florence arrived later that morning, accompanied by 2 assistants and a photographer. Darling, the critics loved your last exhibition. There's talk of an international show in London. Tunde tried to smile, but his eyes remained on the damaged painting. It bled, he said quietly. Madame Florence frowned. What? The paint, last night, it was like blood. She chuckled. My dear, art is emotion. Maybe you were just overwhelmed. Then, seeing the torn canvas, she added sharply, don't be dramatic. We can sell this one too, say it represents pain in motion. Her assistants nodded obediently. But when they lifted the painting, one gasped. On the floor beneath it lay small red stains. Florence's smile faltered for a second, then returned, polished, professional. Clean it up. The boy's been overworking. To her, everything had a price, even madness could be marketed. Weeks rode into months. Fame, like a wild masquerade, danced faster around Tunde. He was invited to the homes of politicians, to clubs with strobe lights and champagne that never ran dry, but inside, something was breaking. His laughter felt borrowed, his reflection a stranger. He no longer painted what he loved. He painted what sold, golden cities floating in clouds. Kings without faces. Women made of smoke, and every night, when the city slept, he heard the faint drip. Drip. Drip, as though his paintings were crying when no one was watching. Connor, the smooth-tongued agent who had brought him from Abardon, now moved with an air of ownership. You're a brand now, my boy. He said one evening over drinks at a rooftop bar. We can triple your prices. But we must sign new contracts. Florence and I will handle the business side. Tunde blinked, confused. I thought I owned my art. Connor laughed. Of course. You own your talent. We just own the rights. That's how the world works. A chill passed through Tunde. Something about those words, we just own the rights, felt like chains closing around his wrists. Still, he signed. He had stopped listening to the wind long ago. That night, he dreamed again. He was painting beside a river. The water shimmered red. From its surface rose the faces of his ancestors, his mother, Baba Ojo, even the villagers of Abardon. They whispered in unison, you have sold your dreams, Tunde. The gods are patient, but justice walks barefoot, and she is already on her way. He woke trembling. Outside, thunder growled across the sky. The next morning, while Tunde prepared coffee, a knock came at his door. It was a young woman selling beads and charms. Her eyes were strangely familiar. Good morning, sir, she said. Would you buy protection for your spirit? The city is hungry, it eats gifted souls. Tunde smiled faintly. I'm not superstitious. The girl looked past him, into his studio. Then why are your paintings crying? Tunde froze. How do you know about that? She didn't answer. Instead, she handed him a small cowrie shell tied with red thread. When you sleep tonight, keep this under your pillow. If you hear a voice, listen. But do not open your eyes. Before he could speak, she was gone. He searched the corridors, empty. Only the faint scent of incense lingered. That night, unable to resist curiosity, Tunde placed the cowrie under his pillow. He drifted into uneasy sleep. Then came a whisper, Tunde. Odeola. The one who paints the wind. He stirred. Who's there? Do not open your eyes, the voice warned, calm and ancient, but he did. Before him stood a man draped in shadows, holding a cracked paintbrush. His face shifted, now Connor's, now Baba Ojo's, now his own. You traded your dreams for applause, the shadow said. Now your art feeds on your soul. Each drop of blood your paintings shed is a memory of what you abandoned. Tunde's heart pounded. What must I do? Return to where the wind first knew your name. The ancestors wait at the crossroads. When he awoke, the curry was gone, and on his pillow lay a streak of red paint. Over the next days, strange things happened. One painting began to peel, revealing beneath it another image, his village, Abardon, burning. Another canvas shifted when no wind blew, as if something inside tried to escape. When he showed them to Madame Florence, she only smiled. They are perfect. A little horror sells well. People love mystery. Tunde felt sick. These are warnings, not art. Everything is art, dear. Even curses, if they sell. That night, Tunde burned one of the paintings. The next morning, a newspaper headline screamed, "Artist work destroyed in fire, collector dies hours later." Fear gripped him. The curse was spreading. The fall of Florence, soon after. Madame Florence held a grand exhibition at her mansion. She insisted on displaying all of Tunde's new works, including those that had bled. The darker, the better, she said. They make people feel something. Celebrities arrived in limousines, sipping champagne. At the center stood Tunde's masterpiece, The City That Ate Its Children. It showed a glowing metropolis devouring faceless figures, their eyes dripping red. The crowd applauded. Florence raised a glass. To the genius who turned paint into profit. A low hum filled the hall. The paintings began to move, subtly at first, then violently. Faces twisted, mouths opened, eyes oozed crimson, screams erupted. The glass shattered. Guests ran for the exits. Florence stood frozen before the main painting. The red liquid poured down its frame, pulling at her feet. She gasped, then collapsed. By the time the police arrived, every painting was blank, as if wiped clean by invisible hands. Only Tunde's brush lay on the floor, stained dark red. Tunde fled the city that night. He left everything, his fame, his apartment, his unfinished canvases. The rain fell hard, washing away footprints and headlines alike. He boarded a night bus bound for the southwest, toward Abardon. The conductor eyed him curiously. "You look like that painter on TV," he said. "I used to be," Tunde whispered. As the bus roared down the highway, lightning flashed across the sky. For a moment, in the reflection of the window, Tunde thought he saw Baba Ojo's face smiling faintly. "Justice walks barefoot," the old man's voice whispered through the rain. "And she is almost home." He reached Abardon at dawn. The village was smaller than he remembered. The mango trees seemed lower. The air quieter. Yet something sacred stirred in the wind, as if the land itself recognized his return. Children stared at him curiously. "Isn't that Tunde the painter?" One whispered, "He looks like he's been walking with ghosts." Another replied, "At the edge of the village, Baba Ojo's hut still stood, though vines now crept up its walls." Tunde entered. The old man sat by a small fire, as if he had been waiting all along. "Welcome home, painter of winds," Baba Ojo said softly. "Have you finally seen the color of greed?" Tunde fell to his knees. "Baba, I have sinned. My art has brought pain. My hands are cursed." The elder nodded slowly. "A curse is nothing but wisdom that was ignored for too long. You must unlearn what the city taught you. Paint again, but this time, paint truth." Under Baba Ojo's guidance, Tunde built a small hut near the river. He washed his brushes in the current, praying in Yoruba, "Creator, deliver me from my ignorance." For 7 days he fasted. On the 7th night, the wind returned, whispering through the palms. He set up his canvas under the moonlight and began to paint, not with ambition, but with repentance. He painted his mother's smile, the drums of Abardon, the laughter of children, the whispering trees. The air hummed softly, as if approving. When he finished, he stepped back. The painting shimmered, alive but peaceful. For the first time in years, Tunde wept, not from fear but from relief. Baba Ojo smiled. "Now your art breathes again." But the gods never erase memory, they transform it. Your past will always follow you, but if your heart stays pure, it will guide rather than haunt. As dawn broke, the rooster crowed. The wind stirred gently, carrying the scent of wet earth and new beginnings. Tunde gazed toward the rising sun and whispered, "I once sold my dreams. Now I will spend the rest of my life buying them back." The wind answered softly, "Then paint, son of Abardon. Paint, until the world